Listening without love is empty sound. You don't hear it. It's an empty gong. It's just simply just not heard. But listening with love is understanding. We understand each other. We understand ourselves. We understand what our lives mean. We understand what it is that works for us and what works for the people that we work for and work with, and why we're parents.
Welcome to Parent Footprint with Dr. Dan. I'm Dr. Dan. This show is about making the world a more loving, accepting, and compassionate place, one parent, one person, and one child at a time. The key to raising healthy and engaged kids is for parents to seek the same in their own lives while striving to be the best versions of themselves each day. No matter who you are or where you came from, with increased awareness, you can be purposeful about leaving a healthy footprint for your children, your family, and all those you care about, while living your own life to the fullest. Today's show is The Well-Lived Life with Dr. Gladys McGarey. Dr. Gladys is a centenarian, still consulting doctor and the mother of holistic medicine. At over 100 years old, Dr. Gladys still offers life consultations to help people connect with the physician within. Recognized as a pioneer of the allopathic and holistic medical movements, she is also a founding diplomat of the American Board of Holistic Medicine. She's the co-founder and past president of the American Holistic Medical Association, now called the Academy of Integrated Health and Medicine, as well as the co-founder of the Academy of Parapsychology and Medicine. Dr. Gladys lives and works in Scottsdale, Arizona, where for many years she shared a medical practice with her daughter. In addition to her life coaching practice, she maintains a healthy diet and enjoys a good piece of cake every now and then. She's the author of The Well-Lived Life, a 103-year-old doctor's 6 secrets to health and happiness at every age. Over the past 60 years, she's pioneered a new way of thinking about disease and health that has transformed the way we imagine healthcare and self-care around the world. Dr. Gladys' insights have been featured in Today, Time, CNBC, The Guardian, Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, and more. Dr. Gladys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my privilege and honor to be a parent and a grandparent and a great-grandparent.
And an amazing human being sharing wisdom with everyone. And there's so many places I wanted to start, so I decided I was just going to see where it actually started.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that just came to me is, along your life journey, was there a time when you felt or recognized that you were wise? Like the wisdom was coming through you and it was part of your purpose to share it?
That's a good question, because I was 93 years old when I finally accepted my voice for being what it was. I'd been using it and saying things and so on, but I hadn't trusted it until I was 93, because when I was a kid, and still to this day, I have the so-called disease, which is dyslexia. I mean, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I flunked first grade twice, and I was the class dummy. And so until I was 93 years old, every time I wrote something or said something that I thought was important, I'd question it and sort of look for affirmation from somebody who would say it was okay. But I had a dream when I was 93, and the dream was that I saw myself as 9-year-old Gladys out in the jungles of North India, where my parents were medical missionaries and taking their medical work back to the people in the jungles. And I loved the life. I just thought that was the best place. But I didn't like the rule that my parents had, which was that if on Sunday mornings we weren't allowed to sing anything but hymns or bhajans. And I
Mm.
thought I was 9 years old, and I thought that was a stupid rule, and I didn't want to follow it. But so I see myself in the dream, look, 9-year-old Gladys peeking out from the flap of the tent and looking out to see my brother. If my younger brother was there, I was going to be tattled on, and then I'd be in trouble. So he wasn't there, so I'm free. So I ran as fast as I could in the dream to the mango tree outside, climbed clear to the top, and I'm singing. I'm singing any old song I wanted to sing, and I'm happy. But then I stop and I look over my shoulder, and because I think, oh my, I may be really in trouble. Or I look over but Jesus is up in the tree with me. He's over my right shoulder, and he's laughing. And so I say to him, Jesus loves the little children, right? And he's laughing. He says, yes. And so I go back to my singing, and then I get to thinking, did he really say yes? And I look back over my shoulder and I say, I'm still a little children, right? And he said, yes. And he's laughing harder. And so I go back to my singing, and I wake up laughing and singing.
Hmm.
And I said to myself, if Jesus accepts you and the things that you say, you better start paying attention to them yourself. And that's
Wow.
when I started paying attention to what it was that I was thinking and saying and using to help guide my life and
Mm.
help guide other people's.
At 93, after you were already decades of founding of holistic medicine, of what's so interesting about that to me is you you were using your voice, you were pushing the field forward, you were stretching yourself, but I get the essence of what you're saying. You really hadn't embodied and believed. There was that, was it that the confidence wasn't there, the imposterness of that I know so many of us tend to have.
Yes, it
Mhm.
wasn't. It was, uh, I had just flunked so many times, you
Mhm.
know, that I really
Yes.
didn't trust it. But, but starting at
Yes.
93,
Wow.
I trust my voice.
You, you're talking to a fellow dyslexic with a large dyslexic family, so I have a strong connection to what you're saying and also what you're not saying, and I think for everyone listening, there's several aspects of the dyslexic experience, and I would also broaden it to the neurodiverse experience for many, which is
Uh,
it's a different path, and it has lots of struggles, um, and with with scar tissue for many, and at the same time, there is a way that because of the difference and because of the experience, one experiences life differently and in a way that it's important to trust. But I think we get lots of messages in our culture, in our schools, that there's only a certain way of doing it, and if you don't get good grades and you don't think like everyone else, then you're less than, and
well,
your testimony that that's not the case.
well, the amazing thing about that, when we started the American Holistic Medical Association, first of all, it took us 2 years to decide how to spell it because we were looking for the word
Yeah.
It was an H,
Yeah.
health, healing, and holy. But when one day we were sitting, there were 10 of us sitting around, physicians sitting around the table, and we were talking, and I started talking about being dyslexic. And of the 10 of us, 6 of us were dyslexic.
Hmm.
So we looked at each other and we said it's because we had to find a way that would work for us.
Yeah.
And as we found the way that worked for us, it helped for other people.
Yes.
So, it's an amazing being aware of how things really happen is a privilege and an honor.
Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me with my work in the field of dyslexia that 6 of the 10 of you were dyslexic, because it is
Oh,
now known that dyslexics tend to be highly visionary thinkers and able to see ahead, even if they can't always describe the path to get there in the moment. And so that in this room of your founding visionaries, that the majority are, totally fits with what we know now about the dyslexic brain and mind.
right, right.
Yeah.
It's not a disgrace now. It's just
No.
an idea
Yes.
that gives us a way of positioning ourselves.
Hmm. What is inspiring? What inspired me about, well, there are many things about your story. I didn't know about, of course, you having the dream and finding your voice at 93, which gives us this longevity of lifelong learning and growth. I was going to go back to when it was you were about 70, when your life changed with your
Yes,
marriage, and that was an awakening for you, a different sort of awakening at that time. And that was at, how old were you at that time?
I was just turning 70,
Hmm.
and when Bill asked for the divorce,
Mhm.
and it shattered me. It was a horrible time in my life. It was like everything had ended because we'd raised 6 children who were doing wonderfully. We were done the we had done together huge things that were working, and people were helping people. And then he asked for a divorce.
Hmm.
I just nothing made any sense. And I was coming home from work, and I was screaming and yelling at the world, and in my car by myself. And I was a mess. I was broken. It was just, it was terrible. So
Hmm.
finally, I pulled over to the side of the road coming down I-10. I pulled over to the side of the road and stopped my car, and I got out and I looked around at the scenery and stuff. And I said to myself, I feel horrible. I feel just absolutely broken and horrible. Am I going to feel like this the rest of my life? I mean, this is awful. So, talking this over with myself, I thought, no, I'm not. And the words that came into my head were, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And there was my name.
Mhm.
And so I looked at my name and I thought, well, all right. I got back in the car. I went home. I talked it over with my dog because there wasn't anybody else around. And and the next day, I went into the licensing board and got my car license changed to Be Glad. And the rest of the time, I was here in Phoenix
Hmm.
driving around for 60 years. Every time I got into my car, I saw Be Glad, and I knew that when I was in my car, the people behind me would see that Be
Hmm.
Glad. So I had a message to give, and I thought that this is my one of my opportunities to do that.
Hmm. And then the resilience with that. I mean, that was literally in one day ha- from the brokenness, and I
Yeah.
imagine the fear to going within and coming out.
It gave me a direction. I knew now how I could go, and I knew that there were people there that I could work with and help. I mean, I could find my community again
Mm-hmm.
because I had the community that created the holistic movement, but I
Mm-hmm.
could reaffirm that
Mm-hmm.
community and work with it in a way that had just a further dimension.
Mm-hmm. So what in the holistic health movement and what you had already founded, what shifted or added to the work and the village, the community that you were so much a part of when your life took such an unexpected turn?
Well, it gave me an affirmation to keep going the way I was going. I already had the name, I had the direction. I could keep going the way I was going. I just had to find the right way of saying it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just kept on. And out of that has developed the concept of living medicine for me. The
Mm-hmm.
holistic medicine has sort of grown into living medicine. If it's not alive, whereas it can't go anyplace. But if it's alive, it has to keep moving, and love has to be the center active aspect of living medicine.
Mm.
So it just took it to another dimension. Like the
Yeah.
same people, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, but
Mm-hmm.
I had a way of looking at it. So now my dream is a village for living medicine, a place where when you step onto the property, the healing starts.
Mm.
It's in essence, holy ground where it's really something that when you step onto the property, there's an energy that
Mm-hmm.
is consciously placed on that aspect of the earth to help us as true humans do the work we need to do.
When did the concept of living medicine come to you?
When did it come to
Yeah.
me?
When did that you seem to have these messages, these downloads that come to you in different forms.
Well, I think it was a growing process. It was a living process from the time I was a kid because my parents were medical missionaries in India. Both of them were osteopaths. My mother got her osteopath license in 1913.
Hmm.
Who had women doctors in 1913? Nobody. Nobody
Mhm.
had them in 1946 when I had my license. And I had a residency in uh, Deacon's Hospital in Cincinnati. They'd never had a woman doctor there before. And so when I was on call, I had no place to sleep. And so, except I had the x ray table and a pillow and a blanket, and I wasn't complaining because at least I had that.
Mm.
If I complained, I wouldn't have had that. So, you learn as you go along to take what you can as a next step to put you on to the next step, which puts you to the next step, which is called life and living.
It happens in the moments.
Uh huh. Yeah.
So love. So love is a foundation of living medicine.
It's a great healer. It's
Mm-hmm.
essential. I
Mm-hmm.
have the 5 L's that you want to hear my 5 L's?
I do. I even wrote them down. Give it to us.
Okay, the first two will go together. Life and love. They need to go together. It's like a pregnancy. When I'm pregnant, the baby eats what I eat, thinks what I think. We are one body. It's a one unit. We're femifesting this one unit. But when the baby takes his first breath, he becomes a second unit. He manifests. He's been manifesting all this time, and now he manifests. And as he manifests, he takes with him the love that we have shared, the life and the essence that we have shared for however months we were working as one unit. So life and love have to be together. They function as one unit, and then they divide up and become their own personal unit. So life and love are there. But the third one is laughter. Laughter without love is cruel. It's hurtful. It breaks up families. It breaks up countries. It causes wars. It's mean. But laughter with love is joy and happiness. The fourth one is labor. Labor without love is, oh man, gotta go to work. Too
Mm-hmm.
many
Mm-hmm.
diapers. Life's too hard. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And we drag ourselves through it day by day. But but labor with love is why you're doing what you're doing. It's why I do what I do. It's our bliss.
Mm-hmm.
We work 15 times as hard doing the work that we're doing now because it's what lights us up. It's what makes us want to do the work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that love essence fuels for the work that we're doing. And the fifth one, did I say third, fourth?
You did. Yep. Fifth one.
Okay. Fifth one is listening. Listening without love is empty sound.
Mm.
You don't hear it. It's an empty gong. It's just simply just not heard. But listening with love is understanding. We
Mm.
understand each other. We
Mm.
understand ourselves. We understand what our lives mean. We understand what it is that works for us and what works for the people that we work for and work with, and why we're parents.
Mm-hmm. Life, love, laughter, labor, and listening. And I just like how you couch them. And I've read about how you write about them. And if you take love away from any of it, it doesn't work, right? Like
It's
love,
empty.
it's totally empty. And the other point you made really speaks to me about work. And I know part of your wisdom on teaching us how to live a well-lived life is to live with purpose. And we'll talk about in a moment how we find our juice. Um, and you're doing it in your hundreds. As you talk about, people want, like, I think of retirement a lot of time is people are just ready to be done with what they were doing, um, because of the experience of doing it, the tiredness, the fatigue, the energy suck. And people always ask me, so are you close to retirement? When do you want to retire? And my father is 85 and he's still working. And I don't imagine myself not working. I imagine myself continuing striving to be in purpose, because that's the work. It's not work. It's labor, but it's not labor, as you point
Yeah.
out, when we can be in purpose.
Well, when I was 86, I went to Afghanistan to help birthing the Afghani women with the birthing processes because my brother was head of the human what, organization around the world, and he said that the maternal mortality rate was higher in Afghanistan than any place else, and they couldn't find out why because they had no access to the women. The men wouldn't let them talk to the women. So he asked me if I was willing to come, and I was just ready to retire anyway. So I went to Afghanistan and worked with an Afghani woman physician, and it was amazing. These women they knew nothing. They knew how they got pregnant, but then what was going on in there after that, they knew nothing. Like when you eat your meal, you don't pay any attention to what your digestive
Right.
process is doing, but it was just a process that was going on. And so when I had the opportunity, I had a piece of blackboard and a piece of chalk, and I explained to them about the sperm and the ovum, and and I said, that we had the ovum and the men had the sperm, and one of the women said, "How many sperm?" I said, "Millions," and she said, "How many eggs?" I said, "One." And you'd have thought I'd given them the whoa, they lit up. And I said, "You have the choice to choose which one you want,
Hmm.
which sperm you want." And they just, they lit up. And it was a wonderful time that we had together. And they got it, they understood it. And the beautiful thing about women is when we women learn something, we teach it. It's not, it's hard for us as we really learn something not to teach it. So they went home, and within months, the statistics were changing because as soon as women understood what it was that was going on there, because they had been told that when they got pregnant, they would have no food that had, they didn't know it was calcium, but yogurt and eggs and so on. They were kept from having so by the time they went into labor, they most of them talked about being in labor and with shaking their fist, which is hypocalcemic tetany. So they had that tetanic muscle spasm. They had, and then when they went into labor, they weren't given anything to eat or drink. So you have a starved woman who has no energy trying to push out a baby. And so the way it was done was someone from the outside had to push that baby out, which meant that they had the ruptured bladder, the uterus was, their whole reproductive system was injured. And no wonder they had that. But they got it. And they went home, and within months, the whole statistics changed.
With knowledge, right? From disempowerment to empowerment.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I was 86 at the time. I was given the privilege of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you found over the course of your life you became easier and easier to discern what spoke to you and was something that you felt you needed to do versus something that no longer aligned with you?
Sure, that's called life and living.
Mm.
If you actually want to learn, you do learn, and it's a wow. I think a lot. Life is so awesome. To me, I wake up in the morning and I really think, thank you. I have a friend who's in her 90s, late 90s, and she called me the other day and we were talking, and she says, oh, I wake up in the morning and I think, oh, another day. And I thought, oh, you poor dear thing,
Mm.
because to me, to have another day in which I can do the things that I have chosen to do is awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, you think about this. When I was a kid, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a telephone or a telegraph. I mean, there was no such thing. When I was born, my father sent a cablegram over to my grandmother in Cincinnati, and that meant that there was a cable that went underneath the Atlantic, and it was addressed Seal, that was my grandmother's name, Cincinnati. It didn't say Ohio or anything, it just said Cincinnati. And girl, well, that was the address.
Girl, well.
Yeah. And then signed by my dad, Taylor. So that's the message that came across to my grandmother. And now look at what we're doing. I mean,
Mhm.
isn't this awesome? I mean,
Yes.
we're talking to people all around the world.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just actually awesome.
It is awesome. And just how we wake up, I think that there's a lot to be said there. It There's so many times that people wake up. I know I've woke up with, oh, this is it, like I'm going to have this day or this week, and it just feels really heavy. And there's other times that it's so much easier just to be excited about the possibilities of the day and what's to come. And I think I- if you can teach us here, there are these natural rhythms. Sometimes because of our physiological process and our hormones, or sometimes we just wake up feeling good. Other times we may wake up not feeling so good. But so much about what you practice and teach is how to engage in life and how to be very purposeful about how we think about our life and the steps that we take each day for to find this joy.
Yeah, if we wake up in the morning with indigestion and we're not feeling good, um, we have the opportunity to look at that and choose what we're going to do. Are we going to feed that or indigestion or whatever, or are we going to choose to do something that helps us through it and around it, or not living? No, we don't want to get around it because then you just shove it down, and it's a hidden thing that you haven't dealt with. You want to live through it. You
Mm.
want to live it and make a decision and go on.
Mhm. So it's very conscious, purposeful living.
Right, right.
Mhm.
With love that just is everywhere.
Mhm.
It's just everywhere. And if you have kids, the love is everywhere.
Mhm. In the chaos, everyone, the love is right there in the chaos.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you talk about self-love,
yeah.
and um, that's so important. So tell everyone about why self-love is so critical to health and wellness.
Well, if you don't accept yourself, then who are you going to accept? Because it's an empty spot. But look for what it is within yourself that you like. The things that make your life more productive and something to look forward to. We have a choice. It could be we have a whole bag of pain and suffering and so on that we're carrying over our left shoulder. And if we keep looking back at that pain and suffering and the things that we don't like in our lives, and that's the way our face takes us, we're going to get a stiff neck and we're not going to be able to pull it back with ease. But if we can pull our neck back and start looking to the light, it's there. It's always there. The light doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so the light is always there. Love is always there. It doesn't go away. It's what we accept. And as we accept the fact that life itself and love are together and they work together, then we can begin to really love ourselves. My oldest son is a retired orthopedic surgeon. And when he came through Phoenix, he was going down to Del Rio to start his practice. And he said to me, Mom, I'm real scared. He said, I'm going into the world. I'm going to have people's lives in my hands. I don't know if I can handle that. And I said to him, well, Carl, if you are the one and you think that you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared, but you have to understand that the patient that you're working with has within themselves the partner, the colleague that you're going to be working with. And that's the physician within them. That physician within them is love and understanding, and it's the one that accepts the message that you're giving, and it works with the patient and it does the healing. And I had an experience just a few months ago. A friend of mine who is just a wonderful physician here in town was telling me this, that he's working with the Arizona Medical School, and he's one of the people that the medical students and residents work with as they are going into practice. So he was going to meet one of his students at a certain door where a patient was inside. And he got up there, and she was standing at the door with a chart in her hand. And he said, well, let's go in. And she said, no, we don't have to go in. He has Alzheimer's. He's not going to understand anything. And my colleague said, no, just a minute. You have to understand that there are two people in that room. There's a patient who may or may not understand. We don't know what he understands. But there is his wife. And she'll understand everything that we say. She'll take it with love. She'll interpret it into the language of love that she's working with to work with her husband who has dementia, who has Alzheimer's. And she'll be able to transfer this message of love and hope into their whole lives and work with it.
Mm.
And he said, we have to touch them.
Mm.
And so it's that understanding that the physicians need to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not taught that the essence of the work that they're doing is love that is reaching for the healing, then we've missed a huge thing in our education for the
Hmm.
medical field.
Love and connection, right? As you know,
Oh,
we keep coming back to love and connection and the healing power of touch, right? The healing power of love. And we know that sometimes it is that simple and sometimes it's more complicated. But as you point out, without those two things, nothing is possible.
no, it's like the fifth L. It's
Hmm.
understanding. It's not empty
Hmm.
sound.
Hmm. What have you found? With my question relates to fear, worry, anxiety. Through the course of your life, how have you come to understand and process and integrate those human emotions?
Well, it's a growing process. It's not something you understand right away. It's like when I was flunked first grade because I was dyslexic. I was a class dummy, and the teacher knew it, and all the students knew it, and I had to repeat it. So I was a class dummy 2 times, 2 years. But when I got into third standard, the teacher saw something in me that the first teacher had not seen. And so she appointed me class governor. I could talk. I couldn't read or write, but I could talk. And so I was the one who was taking our story to the whole student body. And in the process of doing that, we had a play that I was actress in, and I was to take this play to the student body. The name of the play was "The Frog Jumped Over the Pond," and I was the frog. And so my mother made me a frog suit and dyed it green, and I stepped out onto the stage really confident. I was sure I could do this thing, but the first thing I saw in the first row of the audience was my two older brothers, and it just threw me off my step enough that instead of jumping over the pond, I landed in it. And so I stood there with a fading suit, crying. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was totally broken. I was, everything had gone bad. The teacher had to come and take me off the stage. And when we came home, fortunately, my mother was an amazing person. And so we were sitting at the dinner table, and my brothers were going through the whole thing, and they were saying to the family, and it was so funny. We just cracked up. She's standing there, the suit is fading, and all of this, and the audience was just hysterical. They were laughing so hard. So finally, my mother says to them, "All right, boys, now you've had your fun. What can we as a family do that will help Gladys so that next time anything like this happens, she'll have the audience with her, not against her. They'll be laughing with her, not against her." And time after time, I've done something like I've tripped when I've come up to the stage, and I can say something like, "Oh, I'm such a drama queen." But the moment I say some little funny thing, I've got the audience in my hand, and I could go on with it. So it's been a matter of what my mother taught us was the secret to we're looking at what we're doing and finding if we can find some humor in it.
Hmm. Back to the laughter. Back to the laughter. So with these things that happen to us, or these worries or fears we have, it's trying to develop a different relationship with it.
Yeah, it's a way of looking at things. It's like, can I tell another story?
Mm-hmm.
When I was 99, I'd had my 99th birthday party, and I was at Safeway after the party and getting some things, and I had them in the basket, and I was starting to lift the basket, things out of the basket and put them in my car. And an old elderly gentleman came by, and he says, "Oh, may I help you?" And I said, "No, no, I can do this myself." And I put them in the car, and I sat down, and I no, just before that, he sat up and he puffs up his chest and he says, "Well, I'm 86 years old." Well, I puffed up mine and I said, "I'm 99." And I marched off and got into my car. And I sat down on the seat and I said, "You nasty old woman." He was just trying to be nice. "You better go into the grocery store there and apologize." And so I'm in the process of, of deciding what to do. And then finally I got to laughing and I thought we were two kindergarten people and you know, and I sort of sat there laughing and realized, and I said to myself, no, he's going to have fun with this because he'll go home and he's going to say to his wife, "Do you know, a nasty old woman came up to me." I mean, when I said no, I said this to her. And so I decided I would change it. And I sat there and I started laughing, and I laughed so hard I could hardly get my car
Mm-hmm.
started because it was just a pure comedy scene,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
Mm-hmm.
it took that much.
Well, it's perspective, right? And it's that
Right.
self-compassion you write about, and how much we can hold ourselves back as opposed to just
And it's
notice it.
just a
Yeah.
little shift, you know,
A
it's
little
just a little,
shift. Right. Right. I saw recently, you were quoted in an interview, and you said, "The second we start holding back from life, life will hold back from us. So the question is, how can I give to life in a way that encourages it to give back to me?"
absolutely, because life has to live. And living means moving and going on and reaching for, so it's what an awesome thing it is to be alive
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
to appreciate that and realize that the breath we take and the things
Mm-hmm.
we think are important.
Mm-hmm.
That because only I can be me and only you can be you. And when we have children, we have to honor, you know, the little people that are coming along now are awesome. I have this, I always have stories. Can I tell this story?
Of course.
Okay. This is my great great grandson, and his name is Ian, and he's 5. Okay, so he and two other kids, a girl and a boy, were standing around after their Sunday school class, and there was a little dish that had their nickels and dimes and stuff in it, and this money was going to go to some place where they had no well, and if they sent the money there, they could dig a well and they would have a well. So these three little kids are standing around this little dish, and the little girl says, "Should we pray?" And the little boy beside her says, "I don't know." And little Ian says, "Of course we pray. God's all around us."
Mm.
And it's that uh, awareness that if we can teach this to our
Mm-hmm.
little people, they
Mm-hmm.
already know it.
Mm-hmm.
They have it in their beings. But if we can affirm it, and if we as their parents can live it and work with it, they're going to know that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to have
Mm-hmm.
any affirmation by other people. They know God's all around them.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of when I was taking my son to preschool several years ago, and we would drive by this area that had these big rocks. And he said, "Dad, did God make those rocks?" And I thought about that, wanting to have as much of an expansive, non-leading answer as possible. So I said something like, "Well, people are not sure, but they believe that um, these all of these natural things in these rocks come from the universe." And he just looked at me in the rearview mirror and he said, "Dad, God is the universe." And so these little people have this connection that
Yeah.
we need to listen to. We really need to listen to.
Yeah. You need to listen to my son that's here
Hmm.
helping me.
Yeah.
Couldn't get along without him. He's a retired Presbyterian minister. But when he was like 7 years old, he came into the living room and he says to me, I wish Jesus was here. And I said, well, I do too, but why you? He says, because I've got questions. And I said, well, try me. Maybe I can help. He says, you don't have the answers. I said, well, try me. So he says, okay, how can God be if he never got started? And I said, oh, well, maybe it's like a circle. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. He says, I knew you didn't have the answer. And he goes off. Of course, he's a retired Presbyterian minister. And
Hmm.
my other son was, who is a psychologist, he was 4 and he came in and he says, I know something. And I said, what's that, Bobby? He says, if I make a friend and he makes a friend and he makes a friend, it's going to go all around the world and come back to
Hmm.
me. Of course, he's a psychologist.
Hmm.
You know, if we
Hmm.
pay attention to what these young ones are bringing into their lives with them
Hmm.
and encourage that, it's what needs to happen.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Dr. Gladys, I need many more hours with you. Um, and our time is running short. So it's time for the parent footprint moment question, which who knows might come with another story. We shall see. Here we go. Tell us about a time that you became aware of yourself as an individual, as a parent, or even an awareness of your own parents, and that new awareness had a positive impact on your life, your kids, and or those you love.
Oh, well, when I was a little girl and I was playing with my dolls, and my sister was playing with her dolls. She wouldn't let me play with hers because my dolls ended up in the hospital. They got sick, and hers didn't. But then I knew I was a doctor and I could help them. I mean, I came into this world
Mm,
knowing that I had that job to do.
mm-hmm,
And so my dolls were my first patients.
mm-hmm. There's this theme in, well, in the work that you're doing, but also, of course, throughout your life. And parents seem like amazing people and humans, and that is to listen to what's within. Right? You talk about the healing, the everyone's own physician within, and we didn't get back to the juice, but the juice, as you describe, is finding your purpose. All of this in your experience, in your lived experience, and in your work is trusting and listening to what is in you.
Absolutely. We're directed from within because God essence is within us. We're see, I don't know, this is not any theology, it's just an idea. God created the earth and it was perfect, it was beautiful. And he then created the human being. And he said to us, the human being, I get now give this earth is perfect, nothing needs to change. But I now give you dominion over the earth, and we in our and he said, now I create you, and you're the only beings in this earth who have free choice and free will. So I give you dominion over the earth. And we, in our arrogance, thought he said dominance. So we said, oh boy. And we took it all on. And look at what we've done. It's time we looked back and realized that the word dominion meant taking care of. We are to take care of our children and take care of our earth and take care of the things that we can choose to take care of. And as we do that, life and love and joy and healing and light move forward, and the other stuff just gets back there.
Beautiful. I am going to remember your face and your smile saying, this is awesome.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
For everyone listening to Dr. Gladys, we'd have to hold on to the awesomeness of life and the awesomeness of our children and our relationships and the possibilities. And know that, listen to yourself, know that you have your own fire, your own purpose, and your own juice within.
And we have choices.
And we have choices. Yes. Dr. Gladys, tell everyone where they can continue to follow your vibrant work.
GladysMcGarey.com.
GladysMcGarey.com. And the new book, The Well-Lived Life, which I have to say, so far we have it in over 25 countries and 14 languages.
Yes.
Amazing. Awesome, I should say. That is awesome.
I'm in awe. Yeah.
You are you're an
the way
inspiration.
The universe works.
Mm-hmm.
No.
We must stay open to the universe and be in partnership with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gladys. Thank you for sharing your part of your morning with me, with our community, and
Thank you.
I am filled up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone, wow. The Well-Lived Life with Dr. Gladys McGarey. Wisdom, love, connection, inter-knowing. You all have that within you. Life is awesome. Life is full of possibilities, and we have choices. Listen to where you are guided. Find your juice and share it with your children.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Please share this with everyone. Of course, get this book. Tell everyone about the book, The Well-Lived Life. We all are seeking the well-lived life. Thank you for your reviews, for your ratings. They mean a lot. And you know the two things I'm going to ask you to do as we close. Try to be the person you want your child to become. And ask yourself the guiding question, what footprint do you want to leave? This has been a Peters and Rossi production. Parent Footprint with Dr. Dan is produced by Laura Rossi. Our engineer is Phil Rossi. Theme music is Strummer Man, composed and performed by Pro Tunes. Artwork is by Garrett Ross. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Parent Footprint Podcast and on Twitter at Dr. Dan Peters. For more information, go to exactlyrightmedia.com.